our discussion, everybody seemed to agree that discovery and creativity, the discovery requires free and uncluttered mind, and meaning minimum disruptions to the researcher. And also that the researchers need to be treated as somebody whose preoccupation is to do research and not necessarily to constantly be swimming in paperwork and reporting to administration and whatever. So we need uncluttered mind, uninterrupted time to do research. Attendance, a researcher, to be able to discover, a researcher needs to be attentive to the area where their discovery is going to be, into the lab. They need to be into the lab. They need to be committed. They need to spend a lot of time into the lab. So if you're a researcher and you don't have time to be in the lab, you're not going to make discovery. And you need to have the power of observation. And the way I look at discovery is that anybody can discover because nature is so rich. You just have to be there working for nature to reveal itself to you. And if you're observant, committed, and attentive, and you have an uncluttered mind, then you have most likely a chance to discover. The second important thing about discovery is, or about creativity, and it is, any one of us can be creative if we are rigorous in our analysis of results, if we have a fresh view of results. Okay, many of us will get results, and some of us will get the same results, but the way we view the results is different, because we have different mind. And very important for creativity is that we make connections between the results that we have, or the analysis that we have, and what is out there. And then, if you're lucky, you can be creative and provide a larger meaning to those results, put them in a larger context. So there are golden rules for research. The first rule: choose a problem you are passionate about, because as I mentioned yesterday, research is an exercise in failure, and if you fail and fail and fail, you need to be passionate and in love with what you're doing, so that you view that failure as increments to success. Be different. Don't just follow like sheep what others are doing. You can start by following what others are doing, but always be conscious that really, as a researcher, you need to be different. You need to divert from the obvious. And in the choice of problems, we think there are two directions you can go: incremental or high risk. The incremental, and let me just say there is no value judgment. Incremental approach is not better than the general approach or the other way around. That these are equally valid approaches, but one is incremental, where you're solving part of the puzzle or a puzzle, and so you're in a developed field, but there are puzzles, and you're trying to fit part of the puzzle. It's an efficient way to do research. It's a fast way to get a paper. It's predictable, and it's harder, but harder to make a big impact unless you really do that experiment that explains the whole of the puzzle. And that's not easy to do, but nevertheless, this is a direction that scientists take. General approach is an approach that is completely open, but you have no idea what you're doing, aside from a gut feeling that something might work. Okay, and in all this discussion, I'm assuming that the researcher is grounded in good science. You can't just come off the street and start practicing science. You have to have some background in the theory of your field, and you have to have some preliminary work in the laboratory before you can appreciate this. So exploration and discovery, there is no blueprint for discovery. Okay, when a student comes to your lab and say, I would love to discover, you can't give them a blueprint and say, well, all right, follow this path and to discovery. No, this is a highly chaotic, and you are going into an unknown world.